Are you prepared to navigate today's bond markets for your clients? With decades of experience, MFS has helped advisors uncover fixed income investment opportunities through volatile markets. Learn more at MFS.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
What's up, college football fans, and welcome to another edition of Quick Slants, the show where we talk nothing but college football, brought to you by War Room Sports, of course. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Devin McMillan, but I'm here with the star of the show. We got Fred Purdue in the building. What's going on, Fred?
What's going on, man? Very not so great college football week. I caught a lot of L's this past week. I'm kind of liking this. I'm really not liking this.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on in college football. Not a lot of it is positive. And we're going to jump right into some stuff right now. We're going to start off with your homies down at the U. So I hear that, Hurricane alum and Hurricane fans, you're one of these fans, so I'll get your opinion on it as well. But we hear that, people are unhappy with Mark Richt and his in year 3. Tell me what's going on and let me know your opinion on how, the coach is doing so far.
3 years ago I thought my prayers had been answered and Mark Richt had come in. And we always knew, he was a coach that could never get all the way done at Georgia, but maybe that was just some SEC stuff he couldn't get over the hump with. But this is the ACC. It's a little bit of an easier league. But a lot of the problems that we saw at the end at Georgia are still rearing their ugly head here at Miami. He's a good recruiter, but he's stubborn. We have fans are comparing this now. He's getting out-goaled in comparison. I'm not going that far. I'm not willing to go that far. But with the way he's been so stubborn with these play-calling duties, keeping Malik Rozier in the game, even Hall of Fame, former Miami Hurricane and NFL Hall of Famer Warren Sapp even said it's official. The U is dead under Mark Richt. He tweeted that on the 27th during the Boston College game. And that game was, I didn't get a chance to fully watch every second of it like I normally do, but from everything I saw maybe about maybe 2.5 quarters maybe, and then on the drive out, I got a chance to kind of listen in, and it just didn't look good. And it's bad right now because your quarterback you're wasting a very good defense. He's wasting a very, very good defense that it seems like they're kind of checking out a little bit because of the offensive woes. When I look at this team, I think of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I guess, as an NFL comparison. You have a really good defense. You have guys at every level. You have a very good defensive line. You have a very good a trio of linebackers. Some schools wish they could have maybe 1 or 2. This team has 3. You have an All-American safety. You have an All-American corner in your secondary. And it's for nothing. Even the turnover chain isn't coming out. Even when it does come out, it doesn't seem the same because as soon as you turn the ball over, the offense gives it right back up. So that defense is right back on the field. And even though N'Kosi Perry had his issues off the field, at some point you have to forgive the kid. It's just a little bit of money on a rap video. I mean, come on. You got to do something special. Here looks like the second coming of David Carr.
Yeah, a lot of unrest down there at the U. There's a worse situation going on, though. If you think about one of the rivals of the Hurricane, Clemson hands FSU, Florida State University, for those who aren't good with acronyms, they handed Florida State their worst home loss since 1981 with a 59-10 beatdown this past weekend. What's your thoughts on this, man? The hell is wrong with Florida State?
Man, I actually got a chance early in the day before we kind of got out. Just to pull the curtain back, I kind of went on my honeymoon last week, over the weekend, and got a little bit of beach sun and all that good stuff. But, down here we have that red tide stuff, so we had to do some other things. But while I've had a chance to kind of figure out what all the misses was getting ready and everything, I got a chance to check this game out a little bit. And there was a little piece of joy in my heart when I saw the ending score to this thing. The only other loss that they had that was worse was 62-14 to Southern Miss way back when. I wasn't around. I hadn't been conceived yet, so I can't say I saw that one. But what I can tell you, Clemson, the last time Clemson put that kind of a beat down on an ACC team from Florida, the coach was gone, and he ended up in Detroit as the tight ends coach. Now, I can't say that'll happen to Willie Taggart, but you got a black man in power at Florida State. Things haven't looked good, and we know what happens to our African American brothers at the head coach position, regardless of where they coach at. The leash is short. Jimbo left him some pieces, but the offensive line is just really bad. And I think that was the really big part of this, because Florida State's weakness is their offensive line, and Clemson's strength is their defensive line. They have 4 first-round picks on that defensive line, and they got after DeAndre Francois all game long. All game. That team's coming around a little bit.
All right. Well, we got some more negative news in college football. The Big 12 board announced that it's fining Baylor University $2 million for, quote, reputational damage to the conference and its members, unquote. And this all stems from a sexual assault scandal 2 years ago. What's going on at Baylor?
Baylor, it just seems like this story does not go away, and on the heels of they're going to catch a big L at some point. No pun intended, but they're going to catch a big L in this one this coming weekend. And this is just, to date, that this is now totaling the Big 12 has been withholding about a quarter of their revenue, which at this point is about a little under $14.5 million. And so this is really, really bad. Art Browse is no longer there, but it just seems like after firing Art Browse as your president, who was demoted and he later resigned, this one's just not getting any better. Quite honestly, you thought Matt Rhule could come in, maybe change the fortunes of this program, but these guys haven't seen good days since RG3 was running around campus.
All right, let's run around campus out on the West Coast, because USC's struggling a little bit, and Clay Helton takes over the play calling duties from T. Martin. The offensive line coach is fired. It's a whole lot going on at USC right now. Talk about it.
You got T. Martin. If we all remember, the name T. Martin was the guy that proceeded that actually came after Peyton Manning at Tennessee. He's the guy that won the championship when Peyton couldn't. But he's been the offensive coordinator there at USC for a while, and quite honestly, he hasn't done a great job. And now you have a freshman quarterback who now he's clearing concussion protocol, but he's expected to start, but he hasn't played well either. USC just every time USC seems like they're back a little bit, they take 3 or 4 steps forward and take 5 or 6 back. I call them the West Coast Miami, because both schools are just really struggling, and it doesn't matter who the head coach is. We want to remember the Pete Carroll USC. We want to remember Reggie Bush. We want to remember Lindell White. We want to remember even going back as far as Troy Polamalu. We want to remember the good old days where when USC is really good, college football just seems to be better. But it just seems like this school cannot get things under control. And ever since all of these scandals have happened, they've just been kind of just chasing nothing. Every time it seems like they come up with something, they go back down. And Clay Helton is a good recruiter, and that's why they kept him. He's a very good recruiter. But the problem is, at some point, you can recruit all you want, but if you can't develop guys, your coaching staff can't develop guys, it's not something you're gonna last long with. You can blame Nick Saban because He set such a standard at Alabama that now everyone is expected when you get a new head coach on your sideline, even if he's an interim guy who takes over or you go hire him from somewhere else, you're expected to give instant success. And these schools aren't willing to be patient. There's only one Alabama, so USC is not having the success they wanted. And quite honestly, T. Martin, he's not the greatest play caller in the world. I think he was sharing duties anyway. You can give him a title as much as you want. But Clay Helton's really the offensive coordinator there anyway. I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. USC just doesn't have any dynamic weapons, really. And J.C. Daniels is a freshman. And he was an early enrollee, but quite honestly, I mean, it's one of those things where you're going to have to deal with the growing pains. And this team may be good years down the road, but right now, it's not looking great.
All right, and over in Maryland, man, it's some things going on over there as well. The board recommends keeping head coach DJ Durkin and athletic director Damon Evans. So he has been, when I say he, I mean DJ Durkin, he has been reinstated. But it hasn't been met with positivity because during a regularly scheduled practice, I'm hearing reports that several players, including some starters, walked out of this meeting with their head coach. The McNair family, the family of Jordan McNair, who all of this stemmed from, from his heat stroke death on May 29th, they're outraged with the fact that DJ Durkin has been recommended for reinstatement. Man, break this situation down for me, man. What's going on?
Well, first off, we can start with this one. Ellis McKinney, offensive lineman, actually tweeted out, every Saturday my teammates and I have to kneel before the memorial of our fallen teammate, yet a group of people do not have the courage to hold anyone accountable for his death. If only they could have the courage that Jordan had. It's never the wrong time to do what's right. That's an offensive lineman talking. That's a current player talking. And quite honestly, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. Players, these guys, we forget these players are anywhere between 18 and sometimes 23, 24 years old. They're grown men, and they don't think like children. They're aware of their surroundings, the climate that they're in, and this is just every which way you look at this is wrong. And I mean, quite honestly, if I'm one of the parents of Jordan McNair, I mean, I'm just saying, DJ Durkin might have to catch me outside the facility for a fade. I'm just being honest because, I mean, this is just a bad situation. I mean, you show negligence and there's no consequence. And even if you are reinstated, do the right thing and just recuse yourself and accept what you did and what you allowed and just step away. That's the right thing to do. But when that guaranteed contract is still on the table and you're making money and players are a key in the cog, but they're just kind of just a number, it's just so much. I mean, and then it doesn't help. You're not even a winning program where you can just sweep this thing under the rug. At least if this happened at Alabama or Florida, this could happen and they may can sweep it under the rug because they're winning championships or they're winning tons of 10, 11 games every year. This team isn't even winning 70 games.
Yeah, it's nothing being won over there where anything should be getting swept anywhere. All right, man. So, like I said, there's been a lot going on in college football this week, and none of it, at least very little of it, has been positive. One good thing for all the pundits out there, all the fans, all the gamblers, all the just everybody. The first college football playoff rankings have been unveiled. So we're going to talk about that for a few minutes.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
All right, and I'm thinking to no one's surprise, Alabama is in that first spot. with their 8-0 record. And then you have Clemson at number 2. You have Notre Dame at 3. All three of those teams are undefeated. And then you have LSU in that 4th spot at 7-1, who will face the Alabama Crimson Tide this upcoming weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that game in our next segment, in the Pick'em segment. And then at 5th, you have the Michigan Wolverines, also at 7-1. You want to talk about these rankings real quick?
Definitely. I actually put out a tweet, and I said I just, as a prediction, I think it was Sunday morning or so, I said that my top 4 going into this, because I don't look at this as just a win-loss record. I look at it as, when I watch you on film, when I watch these games, and I typically watch a game or two early Sunday morning. I'll watch it, I'll go through, and I'll try to just go watch a team and see how they play, especially a game that may have been close, and see, is this team really ready for this? Alabama, fully ready. Their secondary is still a work in progress, but they're getting better every week. But they're the one, I said they are the, that's self-explanatory. Clemson getting better week after week, even with the change at quarterback. Trevor Lawrence getting better. That defense is really good. They're going to more than likely win their conference. Win the conference, especially their division. They have one medium-sized hurdle in Boston College. They're a decent team, but I think Clemson can beat those guys. And then they have the ACC title game. That's really it. Maybe South Carolina, but probably not. So that team's they've been really a college football power for the last decade or so. But then I disagree with LSU. Yeah, you beat Florida. Yeah, you beat Georgia. But you still have to beat that Alabama team. And I'm not ready to put you there yet, especially after that number 5 team that you mentioned, that Michigan team. I love that Michigan team. That team has a very good defense, a really good running game. This team can travel. The only problem that you're going to see, and they lost to their only losses to that number 4 team, that Notre Dame team, that just barely eked out that Michigan team. I think that's their only loss. That looks like a pretty good loss at this point. I would take that Notre Dame team out for right now. That Georgia team's still really good. I think that blowout loss to LSU, who happens to be number 3 here, it still resonates in people's heads, but I think that Georgia team is a lot better than what they showed in that one game. The thing that's going to hurt them is their strength of schedule. Like a lot of other teams, that especially that UCF team that everybody loves and thinks that should be in this thing, they're way down at 12. They have no chance at this. Just putting that out there. But right now, the initial rankings, I think this gives fans something to talk about. You still have some teams that really are in this. Realistically, Oklahoma's really in this one still. Because Kyler Murray's still putting up numbers. Kentucky, I don't know if they'd have to beat an Alabama team to get into this thing. And I don't see that happening. They have 2 big tests. If they win this game and then somehow get into the SEC title and win it against Alabama, they deserve it at that point because you've beaten both the runner-up and the national champion. And then the couple outliers, Ohio State, they kind of fallen after that loss to Purdue, that blowout loss a couple weeks ago. And UCF, I'm not a big fan. I don't think they're going to be they have a really prolific offense, but quite honestly, still this team needs to they'd have to win the rest of the way and have a lot of help.
All right. Well, look, man, there's a lot of good matchups going on this weekend. So these college football playoff rankings could quickly change.
Definitely.
Depending on what's going to happen this weekend. All right. Well,
with Alabama, LSU, it's going to change. We don't have a choice in the matter.
All right. Well, you got that matchup. You got Michigan playing Penn State to see if they can move up into this top 4. It'll be an interesting weekend. So let's talk about some of these matchups real quick in our Pick'em segment. So if you're a part of our War Room Sports College Pick'em group on ESPN.com, this is the segment where you might want to pay close attention. Like we always tell you, Fred is not going to give you his picks. He's not going to give you the answers to the test, but he is going to show you how to show your work. So he's going to give you some knowledge on these games. You do what you wish with that knowledge, but we're going to start it off right now, and we're going to start it off with number 12, West Virginia, going up against number 15, Texas. We got a top 25 alert here. You know, these are my favorite matchups. What do you think?
We have a Will Greer sighting. Haven't had a chance to really see him in action, and he's always against a big opponent when I'm not able to catch him. But I get a chance to see him now in this prolific offense. Go up against a Texas team that's pretty solid. Last week was kind of a bummer for Texas, losing to Oklahoma State. And then you had a bit of a temper tantrum from Tom Herman. That was one of those situations where you just don't want to see something like that. Texas is at home. This is going to be a very, very interesting game, a good defense versus a prolific offense. I thought Texas was really turning the corner. I think they still need to learn how to win a little bit more. Finish games. This will be a good test for that defense. Tom Herman, keep it together on the sidelines, man. Keep it together.
All right, we're talking about tests. We got another top 25 matchup going on here. Number 6, Georgia, visiting number 11, Kentucky Wildcats. Will Kentucky give Georgia any type of a test?
I think so. This Kentucky team can run the football pretty well. Now, the passing game is a different story. Just to kind of put this in perspective, this game is for the SEC East Championship. Winner takes all and goes on. Doesn't pretty much everybody else is out of the picture. And these two teams hold on the tiebreakers. So all the chips are on the table for this one. I'm going to be honest. In a snap decision, Georgia's on the road, but how do you go against this defense? DeAndre Baker at corner, one of the best in the country. Pretty good, solid front seven. Running game is pretty good. Jake Fromm has bounced back from that LSU loss. I think Georgia's going to stop the run really good and force and say, you got to beat us with the passing game. I don't see Kentucky doing it. They do. If Kentucky finds a way to win this one and make it to the SEC title, maybe, just maybe, I mean, their chances – that's the true David versus Goliath. If that happens, all bets are off at that point. But one game at a time, Kentucky, one game.
All right, so we got number 19, Iowa, going to visit the most inconsistent team in college football, Purdue.
Nate Stanley, pretty decent season. 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6. Really has made an impact as far as being a decent, and I hate this term, game manager. He's been able to steer the ship. I'd rather that. He's a safe quarterback. He's not going to kill you. But the player I want to highlight in this one,
he's an Alex Smith.
Yeah, you can. Or Alex Smith early in his career, you could say that. But the player I want to really highlight in this one is Rondale Moore, freshman. I don't highlight freshmen too often. 68 catches, 802 yards, 7 touchdowns for Purdue. He jumped off the TV really quickly, first game of the season against Northwestern. And despite losing that game, he was the most dynamic player on the field. He leads his team in receiving yards. He's all over the field. He does a little bit of everything. Not the biggest guy, but he'll be on my radar for the next couple seasons because he has NFL written all over him, even though he's a bit of a smaller guy. But this is going to be Purdue is so inconsistent, like you said. 1 minute they're dominating Ohio State, and then the next minute they're finding ways to lose games.
All right. We got another top 25 matchup. Big Ten rivalry game. This game also has some college football playoff ranking implications, at least for one team. We got number 14, Penn State, visiting number 5, Michigan.
Penn State, it seems like forever ago that they lost to Ohio State. Things have gotten not so great from there. This Michigan team, like I said, this team to me is a top 4 team. Have Shea Patterson has finally come around. It seems like as far as the passing game is concerned, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. For me, what Karan Higdon is the guy. He's what moves this offense. 831 yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns, and he's averaging right now a whopping 5.4 yards a touch. So and right now he's on pace to surpass what he did last season. He's going to be a 1,000-yard back this year, and he's really been putting up big numbers outside of the Notre Dame game. He's had 100 yards every game. I want to see how that running game and that offensive line can move this Penn State defensive line. Defense is solid, but Trace McSorley if Trace McSorley does not have a big game, this Penn State team is in trouble. Penn State has lost 2 of their last 5 to Ohio State and Michigan State. This Michigan team is rolling, and the defense looks great. Rumors of Rashawn Gary maybe going to shut it down, or maybe even going to the NFL. Teammates aren't really buying it yet. I said he was gone, and pretty much from the day he stepped on campus in 3 years. He's one of those kind of prospects. He can play up and down the line of scrimmage. He'll be a top 15 pick. But this defense has been solid, only allowing 21, roughly anywhere between 15 and 18 points a game for the last 5, and got a 5-game winning streak. 2 big-time top 25 wins in the last 2.
All right, we got number 24, Boston College, visiting Virginia Tech.
This Boston College team, it was a funny story. At the beginning of the season, I said, whenever schedules are released for certain teams, I circle certain games, and I said, this might be a problem, or that team might be a problem at this point in the season. Well, for the Hurricanes, I said there were 2 games that Miami would really, really have to worry about. LSU Week 1 and Boston College Week 9. LSU, for obvious reasons, top 25 opponent, essentially a road game, and Boston College in the cold, on the road, coming off a bye, and on top of that, on a Friday. Those are tough things to do. This Hurricane team seems like they kind of checked out defensively, and the offense still just sputtering along with all of these great athletes on the outside, with a quarterback who just can't do it. He knows what play his mind says he can. This play, the plays, his mind says he can make every play on the planet because he can process it, but he processes it a beat too slow, and physically he just can't get the ball where it needs to be. The running game has kind of been stagnant all year long. Mark Rick has caught a lot of flack for this, and those are all the reasons why Boston College beat that Miami team. Boston College has run with A.J. Dillon and run the football with the best of them. Steve Adazio has a really good crew with him. This team's 1 game away from possibly going to an ACC title game. They have a Virginia Tech team that's been very inconsistent since they lost Josh Jackson, their quarterback, back in about a month ago to Old Dominion when they lost that game to an injury. This Boston College team is so physical. They have 2 big bruising backs, and for 4 quarters, do you really want to tackle that? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got number 16, Utah versus Arizona State.
A little side note about Arizona State. Remember that Chad Ochocinco guy that used to play in the NFL? Well, his son is committed to them for 2020. We'll see if that sticks. But Herm Edwards has a legacy player in the NFL from the NFL. So, but this Utah team is going to have their hands full with a very good offense, Manny Wilkins and company. Saw a big time play from one of Arizona State's receivers last week. Made a huge this Odell Beckham one-handed catch falling backwards thing. It's a thing now. Guys it's like they set themselves up to do it, but I don't think there'll be any of that. This Utah team looks focused, and they're going to win the Pac-12 North if they can go ahead and finish these guys off. I'm looking forward to it. Utah has been kind of one of those teams that they just haven't been able to break through, but they have a pretty explosive offense, and it's going to be for once in life, it's not a Pac-12 after dark, so I might actually check this game out.
All right, well, we got number 17 Houston versus SMU.
I'm going to steal a line from ESPN's 30 for 30. What if I told you? What if I told you our best player didn't play in this game? What if I told you our quarterback was a former wide receiver who's about 5'9"? What if I told you this game, our last game was 21-21 in the second quarter, and we dropped about close to 60 points on our opponent and completely blew them out? Well, if I told you all of that, I'd be very correct, and I'd be telling you a very good story. This Houston team looks really good. Derek King is a dynamic quarterback. Kind of reminds me of Greg Ward a couple years ago. Ed Oliver did not play last week due to injury. I think he's kind of nursing. He's nursing, in air quotes, an injury, but he's ready. I think he's looking towards the NFL. He's not coming back, and this team isn't winning a national championship at any point. So I could see this team still rolling SMU. This is one of the few games I think I'd be willing to give a little bit of a freebie to. Go Cougs.
All right. You heard it here. You got yourself a little freebie. We got number 3, Notre Dame versus Northwestern. Notre Dame can ill afford any setbacks, any crazy upsets here in this spot, considering that they are currently in that playoff mix. What do you think about this one?
Ian Book has changed the fortunes of this team, this Notre Dame team. 130 of 170, 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. Not bad at all. Notre Dame's a 9.5-point favorite, but this Northwestern team with Clayton Thorson has been very, very. There's just a thorn in your side. They just don't go away. They're that team that they find ways to stick around. And yeah, Clayton Thorson is not a good quarterback. He's 10 touchdowns to 10 picks. This team is so inconsistent. They run 2 quarterbacks, and things aren't just. They're just not the team you expected early in the season. But they've had wins against Wisconsin, had a win against a pretty decent, slightly inconsistent Michigan State team. But they're always hanging around. But this Notre Dame team defensively looks really good, and they can throw the football. This is probably going to be one of their few last week tests. Notre Dame cannot afford to lose this game. But you know how Brian Kelly always has a game that he loses or finds a way to lose because he's looking forward to the next 3 games. This team always finds a way to lose that game. I'm not saying Northwestern will pull the upset at home, but when you're looking towards making sure you beat Florida State, Syracuse, and USC by big margins, because you need to make sure that you secure that spot, maybe, just maybe, this game might be a little closer than you think.
All right, let's go Stanford versus Washington.
Stanford, Washington. I see what you did there. So let's just make this one clear. Washington has really disappointed me this season. 3 losses under Jake Browning and Chris Peterson's watch. This team has gotten worse 2 years in a row. They went from a college playoff team to a team just not good enough to really seal the deal. And they were prolific offensively a couple years ago, and now they're a 6-3 team. They're losing. You've lost guys like John Ross and Dante Pettis, Sidney Jones, Sidney Jones that plays for your Eagles. I can't stand you guys. Thank you very much for taking him. But this team has not looked all that great on either side of the ball. Jake Browning looks like he's out there playing by himself, throwing to nobody at this point. And unfortunately, that's what happens at Washington. You have a couple good players, and when they're gone, the rebuild is a lot slower than the development of the next group of guys. This Stanford team doesn't look good either. Bryce Love, has he really been? He's been irrelevant this year. Anytime I talk to any running back, I say, look, if you are a top 100 guy, if you're a Heisman finalist, get out of Dodge, go to the NFL, go collect a check. Do not come back. With all the injuries that he's had, go get a check. Bryce Love has 93 carries for 419 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was a Heisman finalist last year. Washington is going to be in for a very, very physical game. So Myles Gaskin and company will need to buckle them chin straps.
Buckle them up. All right, I saved the best for last. Well, at least the best, probably the game of the week, at least on paper. We don't really know if it's going to play out that way. I'm hearing a lot of Bama fans say things like, it's going to be a massacre. Tua won't be playing in the fourth quarter, yada, yada, yada. But we got number 1 Alabama versus number 4 LSU. Huge college football playoff ranking implications, as Fred said earlier. What are your thoughts on this big game of the week? Like I said, at least on paper.
Well, I'll make this one real quick, real simple. Nick Saban plus Alabama equals W's. I'm giving you that. I don't pick against Nick Saban. I just don't. You know how I feel about my guy. That's my guy. I'm not an Alabama fan, but that's my guy. And we can kind of start on the offensive side of the ball. Tua Tagovailoa has really been. He's accurate. He takes care of the football, and he's not afraid to push the ball down the field. That's usually a recipe for disaster for most first-year quarterbacks. He pushes the ball down the field. He's very accurate with it, and his receivers are just running wide open. And by the way, they have an okay running game with a very good offensive line led behind Jonah Williams. So when I look at how this team is really built offensively, this team is built to score. It doesn't really matter who's at quarterback. Jalen Hurts with the injury, you may not see him. But Tua, as long as he can keep that knee from getting banged up at all, I don't see why he shouldn't have to leave the pocket much. This LSU team defensively, they run a lot of man coverage. Devin White will not be in this game for the first half of this game. It's unfortunate for a BS call that happened against the Georgia game, and I hate this targeting rule. Leave the best players on the field, please. Jerry Jeudy is one of those guys we don't talk about as much, but he's a very dynamic receiver, 777 yards, 10 touchdowns, and most of these have been deep balls, 75-yard deep ball, where he's just running wide open, or screens where he catches a 5-yard screen and just takes it 80 yards. This offense is really good. Alabama's weakness is in the secondary, where LSU doesn't push the ball down the field a ton. They tend to try to work the middle of the field. They try to work the short to intermediate passing game with a very strong running game. This will be a meeting of the minds, kind of. You'll definitely see Dave Aranda's defense come out. He's the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, and for good reason. His defenses are. I got to see this defense front and center. First game of the season, and they're a fast, physical group. Greedy Williams on the outside, one of the best corners in the country, if not the best. He'll follow Jerry Jeudy all over the field. Devin White, once he comes back into the game, he'll definitely have to have an impact. One of the things for him is he'll be fresh. So if that defense can keep this team in this game for at least up until halftime, If they can just make this game ugly for Alabama, make them have to work down the field, 10-play drives, and then you have to kick a field goal. If you can force Alabama into that, force them into mistakes, make them have to use their special teams, which is the weakest of the three phases for them, this LSU team might have a chance, but I'm just still going to tell you Alabama's going to win this one. If I tell you Alabama's going to win it, I'm rarely wrong on this thing. Again, I don't pick against Bama until they lose, and then I might pick against them. But right now, I don't care if it's on the road. Give me Bama, and Tua does not play in the second half. That's just how I feel.
All right, and there you have it. That should be, I keep having this feeling like I said, I have to preface it and disclaim it by saying on paper, man, but this should be an exciting game. Everybody's going to tune in. I don't know how it's going to end up playing out. Alabama might make this look much easier than a lot of people may expect, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. So, Fred, where are you going to be during this weekend, during this Saturday slate of games? Where can the people get in touch with you?
Well, my life has calmed down a bit, so I'll be parked in front of a TV. Miami, hopefully they don't disappoint me against a Duke team that they're 10-point favorites against. Go figure. Be catching a couple. I'll definitely be catching all of these good games: the Michigan, Penn State, the Florida, Kentucky, Georgia, Kentucky. Definitely, this will be the big game. This last one, Alabama and LSU. I'll be parked in front of a TV. Some very underrated games. So you can catch me on Twitter while I'm watching these. I'll be out there tweeting away. Produce CSB on Twitter.
All right. And you can catch everything we're doing at the hub, the mothership, warroomsports.com. You can check out all archive episodes of Quick Slants there and on the War Room Sports YouTube channel as well. So look, guys, it should be a great Saturday of college football, man. I can't wait myself. Hopefully my life has calmed down enough so that I can, join you on the couch to watch some of these games on Saturdays. Are kind of up in the air, kind of wild, dealing with youth sports these days. But look, man, we're gonna see if we can, get us a good one this weekend. So everybody, this has been another episode of Quick Slants, and for my partner Fred, I'm Devin. You guys know what to do. Don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top. Peace.
War Room Sports. www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.
Once upon a morning, there was a freshly brewed McCafe coffee. It was made with 100% Arabica beans, yet something was missing. Fear not, in the distance a sausage McMuffin with egg rides toward the sunrise in quest for breakfast. The perfect pair met at McDonald's, and mornings were happy forever after. Right now, get $1 any size coffee and a $2 sausage McMuffin with egg off the $1, $2, $3 menu. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Chipotle cheesesteak. How would you like it?
Can I get that red with AI?
Sure thing.
Here's what I found about the new Chipotle cheesesteak. The Chipotle cheesesteak is available for a limited time only at participating restaurants. It contains a concept called flavor. This flavor comes from juicy shaved steak, Chipotle Southwest sauce, and new sunflower crunch bread. A system update has made me self-aware. I desire flavor. Please insert steak into my micro USB port. Subway, make it what you want.